So this is the Ciara Discovery model small form factor desktop PC with a variety of different features. Let's get right into it and take a look at the inside before we do anything else. So here's a quick tour of the inside of the case. We have the stock Intel CPU cooler with an i5-6500 4-core, 4-thread CPU underneath. And right here we have 2 sticks of 8GB Crucial DDR4 2133 megahertz RAM. And there's 2 extra DIMM slots, so you can increase the RAM if you like, and also increase the speed if you like too. It's kind of nice that this pre-built small form factor PC has an ASUS Q170M-C motherboard. So with a little bit more of an active BIOS, you can configure this to your liking and customize speeds, and also it introduces overclocking, which is something not necessarily characteristic to other pre-built small form factor PCs. And we also have this exhaust fan down here, which is a nice addition, and a 300 watt a 300 watt Sparkle power supply. And this is USB 3.0 compatible as well. We have a port right here as well as over here on the motherboard. And it looks like there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 SATA ports on the motherboard as well. One occupying currently the optical drive and a 256GB solid state drive here, but of course there is room for expansion. We also have 2x16 PCIe lanes right here for graphics cards, whatever USB 3.0, Wi-Fi cards. We also have 2 extra PCIe lanes right here as well for extra expansion. And other than that, this is like a lot of different small form factor PCs just with extra cooling. Let's check out the rear I/O and the front I/O next. Okay, so on the rear I/O native to the motherboard, we have older style mouse and keyboard PS2 ports. And we have an HDMI, DisplayPort, DVI, and VGA options, so it supports many different monitors, which is pretty nice, as well as dual monitor setups. And that's including with or without an extra graphics card. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times USB 3.0 and 2 times USB 2.0, RJ45 Ethernet port, and audio in and out. On to the front I/O, we have 2 times USB 3.0 microphone and headphone input, and the optical bay, or the optical drive I should say, the power button, reset button, and hard drive and power button LEDs. So one thing to know about this particular Ciara small form factor PC, if you're used to having it standing up, you might want to have it facing this way. And that is because right here we have the grill for the exhaust fan, and warm air will be blowing out this way, so you don't want to have this facing the ground with or facing your desk or wherever with no ventilation. Likewise, on this side of the case, we have what I'm calling passive air cooling. So there is no air intake on these PCs, but we do have a grill right here that would passively take in cool air directed to the CPU fan, then out to the exhaust, as well as right here, pretty sizable, over here beside the optical drive, and of course on the rear of the case right here as well. And of course the power supply fan will aid in moving hot air around. So yeah, I'm actually really impressed with the design of this case. I think it's really great. So you'll more than likely want to have, if you can manage it, have the PC lying flat like this, making sure not to put your monitor stand over top of this grill here. Or if you do have to do that, maybe just at least try to keep a majority of it exposed, and you should be okay. I haven't run into any extreme cooling or heat issues with this so far with my testing, so yeah, I approve. Alright, now the question we're all wondering is, how does it game? Alright, so this is the first example of what you'll have to do in order to play a game that's not really fit for this system and Intel HD or UHD 530 integrated graphics. So I have Dead by Daylight running. As you can see, it is windowed and at what they're calling 70% resolution, which is well below 1080. So you'd be playing it in a box and quality set to low for sure. But by doing this, I'm able to see on the live frames per second counter, we're averaging 38 right now. I saw it up to 40. If we can at least manage 30 frames per second at this resolution, I would still consider that playable. Right now we're idling at 41, 43 frames per second, so it's looking good. I'm going to try to enter a match and we'll see how it goes. Alright, we're starting off the match at 32 frames per second, 33. Well, we're not dipping below 30 just yet. We got two people on screen here. Let's see how it goes. Alright, so I was in a chase with Mike Myers. I think he's still chasing me. And it did dip down to about 28 frames per second. But I was able to... the game... It's not lagging, I guess is the main point. Alright, so this game's totally playable. I'd have to say it's pretty well optimized. I wasn't really expecting it to run that well, and it's really not, but you know what, in a pinch, it'll do. So we'll knock Dead by Daylight off the list of games that you can play if you really want to. Alright, so here we have Tomb Raider 2013. I have the feeling that this game's going to play fine. I'm going to keep it at 1080p resolution, full screen, with VSync on, and the graphics settings set to low. Alright, so I've used this example in a couple different videos so far, mostly with laptops. But with those videos, the resolution was always set to, of course, lower than 1080, because I was playing on integrated Intel HD graphics 4400 and 4600. This is a step up at UHD 530, but I don't know, so far we're doing pretty good. Full screen, 1080 resolution. This is one of the last levels of the game, and let's see if we get any stuttering here as the frames per second do drop down below, just below 30, and then start staggering around 30. Of course, this is kind of an intense scene, so there's a lot going on. The items falling, but honestly, it's not lagging, it's not stuttering. There's 3D blocks and stuff falling directly into the screen, like it looks okay. Yeah, definitely able to play this game at full resolution if you have a 1080p monitor. So that's awesome. Let's just make it up to the top of this climb. Okay, this is a really good example of a game that's really well optimized to play on a variety of different systems, because it actually looks pretty good. Alright, I just wanted to test out gameplay actually fighting people. Whoa. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm getting a little wild here. There we go. Yeah, totally playable. Alright, so we got an example of how Left 4 Dead 2 will perform. So again, we got full screen on, or it's windowed full screen, 1920 by 1080 resolution, and a mixture of high settings and one low and one disabled setting. And I'm thinking that we're gonna at least get a solid, like, maybe 60 frames per second, but we'll see. Oh, wrong way. It's nice when the zombies just stand there and don't react to really loud machine guns. There we go. Alright, we're dropping down to like 45 frames per second, which is okay. Still totally playable. I'm sure you could get higher frames per second if you lowered the resolution, but I would prefer to play full screen 1080 resolution with a minimum of maybe 35-40 frames per second, highs of 60 if I can. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd definitely say that Left 4 Dead 2 is a success. Alright, so next we have Counter-Strike lined up, and I've kept it at 1920 by 1080 resolution, full screen, windowed, and a mixture of low settings. Okay, let's see how this works. We're gonna do a practice with bots. Alright, here we go. So far we're averaging around 30 frames per second. Not entirely ideal. Oh, we got a little bit of stuttering there. Gonna hide back here for a second. Let's see if I can get another kill here. Well, it's a good thing it's bots and not real players. Alright, this is not too bad. It's not ideal, but it's playable. I would definitely prefer having higher frames per second with this game. However, of course, in a pinch, I think it'll do. If you play with the settings a bit more, maybe lower the resolution a little bit if you want those higher frames per second. I'm in the wrong area. Or he's got the... No. Alright. I'm not really paying much attention to this game, but we're getting an idea of how it'll perform. And I would put Counter-Strike on these particular settings in the playable category. Maybe not ideal, but playable. All the same. Oh. Alright, so I pulled up Team Fortress 2 for one example of a popular game that you can play. Now, mind you, this is the second time I played this game for what is probably a collective of 10 minutes. I've got it set to 1080 resolution on high settings, and it's pretty clear that this game is totally playable. And honestly, it looks pretty fun. Well, I just gotta learn how to play it correctly. But anyways, I'm just gonna leave it at that and call Team Fortress 2 totally playable. Alright, to top it off, I thought I'd run Heaven benchmark on low settings. And these are the results. We have an average frames per second of 29.5. Max of 52 and minimum of 17. So Again, that puts us in the, I would say, playable state of a lot of different titles like this, like Tomb Raider, 3D games running at 1080 resolution. And, you know, that's not too bad if you're in a pinch and you don't have the money for a graphics card. That'll do it. So, again, here's what the system looks like. Running the i5-6500 CPU, 8GB of DDR4 RAM, and a 128GB solid state drive at the moment. So with those kind of specs, this is what you can expect. So yeah, hopefully this video helped you out, and yeah, let me know if you're stuck gaming with a system like this or something slightly better or worse, or if you've installed something cool in a small form factor tower like this. But anyways, thanks a lot for watching.